Ever since the infamous War of the Worlds radio hoax of 1938, when Orson Welles' dramatic broadcast convinced thousands that Earth was under attack by Martians, people have understood the danger posed by fantastic and staged events being passed off as real.
This is an example frame of a man pulling off a hoax.
This looks like a man's gait and a man's walk.
This animal is supposed to be over 30 tons. It doesn't even make a ripple in the water.
The panic that followed was a stark reminder of how easily the human mind can be tricked when presented with something seemingly credible. Today, that legacy of deception has evolved into a flood of hoaxed photos and videos, claiming to show undeniable proof of monsters, sea serpents, aliens, and other supernatural phenomena.
You have to be aware that things can be faked, people can construct models, people can engage in optical illusions, people can engage in all sorts of fakery with films. Seeing isn't always believing.
These creations are being shared in record numbers, forcing both believers and skeptics to work harder than ever to distinguish fact from fiction. Here you will witness the most ambitious hoaxes ever filmed and hear from insiders who know the truth behind them, how they were made and why they were designed to fool us. These are all frauds. What you are seeing is the most compelling footage ever shot of a creature reported to be Bigfoot, shot by self-described Bigfoot tracker Roger Patterson in 1967. These 39 seconds of film have convinced many people that such a species exists. Repeated showings over 3 decades have ingrained these images into the public consciousness. Even commercials have been made about it as companies try to cash in on this apparently real image of a monster roaming throughout the Pacific Northwest. But is it real or one of the greatest hoaxes ever filmed?
There's no doubt in my mind that the Patterson film is a hoax. It is a human being in a fursuit.
Kall Korff, an investigative journalist, has been researching the Patterson film for over 25 years.
Look at this frame here. You can actually see a line going down here, which looks like either a zipper or again, a suspicious fur line. You can see on the body various patches of fur that are consistent with the suit. And there's no primate on the earth that has a fur line going down its spine. It doesn't fit.
Though debates about the film's authenticity have raged for years, its origins date to October 20th, 1967, when Patterson allegedly crossed paths with the mysterious being.
As I walked across the sandbar, I was able to get some fairly good footage of it. It turned a couple of times and looked at us, and as it turned, it seemed to give me the impression that it didn't want anything to do with us. It didn't run, it didn't act scared, but yet it acted leery of us.
While a clever hoax was immediately suspected, it is only recently that startling secrets about Patterson's film have been revealed.
This Bigfoot film has been shown all over the world. It rather galls me because of the simple fact that it is one of the worst frauds ever perpetrated against the American public.
Rancher and businessman Clyde Reinke makes this accusation. After living with these secrets for almost 30 years, he has inside knowledge of the Bigfoot film hoax. In the early 70s, Reinke worked for American National Enterprises, or A&E, a film distribution company in Salt Lake City. He claims that Roger Patterson also worked for the company.
He was on the payroll as a permanent employee, salaried, as a photographer.
Reinke also says Patterson was told to deliberately fake the Bigfoot filming.
They kept it real secret that they were doing this.
According to Reinke, A&E executives recognized the marketing potential of the Bigfoot film. It was part of an ambitious promotional strategy to generate interest in A&E's other wildlife features.
They would put the Bigfoot film together with another film such as Cougar Country, and the Bigfoot film itself would increase the attendance just tremendously.
Reinke explains that the Bigfoot in the Patterson film is nothing more than a large man in a monkey suit. He even identifies the man in the suit as Jerry Romney, a close friend of A&E's former chairman.
He's almost 7 foot tall. He's a big man. He must weigh at least 250 pounds.
To check out Reinke's allegations, we visited Jerry Romney at his home in Salt Lake City. He completely denied being the man in the Bigfoot suit.
I didn't have anything to do with it, and I don't know anything about it, and I don't believe in it.
Well, the only way that I know definitely it was Jerry Romney in the suit is because Jerry Romney told me so. He admitted it several different times to me and just said he had a lot of fun by doing it, except it was awful damn hot in there.
Interestingly, Romney starred in a subsequent A&E film in 1972. He now wonders if this fact, coupled with his large physique, might have made Reinke point to him.
I guess maybe just because I'm pretty big and close to A&E, and I made this other movie with them, you know, I knew all the executives very well. He just decided that was a good story. That's not true.
We filmed Romney walking up the street and compared his gait to the creature in the Patterson film. The stride and the long arms are clearly quite similar. Though this is by no means conclusive proof of Romney's involvement, one thing is certain. By repackaging the footage in various ways, A&E continued to cash in on their sensational Bigfoot film throughout the 70s. It made them millions. Additional support for Reinke's story was uncovered in a letter from Harry Kemble, a filmmaker in British Columbia. He claims that in 1967, Patterson boasted about shooting the hoax. The letter details the gorilla costume, the fake footprints, and the shaky camera. Unfortunately, we can't question Patterson himself. He passed away in 1972, but based on these revelations, along with Korff's extensive analysis, there appears to be only one conclusion.
This foot, as we see it here, could not have made the prints that we're told were recovered at the site. It is not possible they don't match. The case for the Patterson film, if it were tried in a court of law by science, would be tossed out in 5 minutes for lack of evidence. It is a hoax.
And it seems to have inspired a cottage industry of alleged Bigfoot evidence caught on tape. February 4th, 1992. This video was received in the mail by a Bigfoot researcher in Michigan with no letter of explanation. It was passed on to Bigfoot expert Larry Lund, who began an investigation.
Now, we don't know exactly where this film was shot because there was no return address, no name or anything. The fact that the man didn't even want to tell us his name makes us think right away that this is more than likely a hoax. Now, here he looks to us like a man. This looks like a man's gait and a man's walk.
The creature in the video walks back and forth among the trees, acting elusive. He seems to hide as the cameraman tries to get a clear shot, but incredibly, this supposed Bigfoot stays in the area instead of fleeing to safer ground.
Why would a creature hang around like that, if not for a better camera view? We think a wild creature would take off through the woods and would disappear.
Enlargement of the creature suggests a man wearing a standard ape suit, and together with the bizarre pacing, most experts have deemed this case a hoax, plain and simple. Early winter 1996, this mysterious video began to appear on television around the world. It purports to show a Yeti from the Himalayas, but it all looks too suspicious. Starting with the creature itself. Look how the Yeti appears to be playing in the snow. Here the creature gets up looking rather clumsy, then starts up the hill. The Yeti appears to know when he's on camera. He's hamming it up like an actor in a suit. It wasn't just the creature's man-like performance that created suspicions. Experts also questioned the tape's mysterious origin.
We don't have the cameraman's name. We don't know where he shot it. We can't contact these people. We don't believe that. It's just like everything else. There is no basis, no fact to back up this film either.
The mountainous terrain seemed out of place to scientist Jeff Meldrum.
It was obvious to me immediately that this was not in the principal Himalayan range. The vegetation was inconsistent with the setting.
In this report, Robert L. Fleming, a scientist who has traveled extensively in the Himalayas, also questions the legitimacy of the video. He says the vegetation and the snow conditions are both foreign to that region. And in his expert opinion, the Yeti in the film appears amazingly human. It all looks too good to be true, and it is. It's not Nepal, not the Himalayas, and not a Yeti. It's a hoax.
The hoaxes are going to be here a lot longer than we are. They've gone on all over the world. Every major continent in the world has a Bigfoot with a different name.
Whether it's the famous Bigfoot film by Patterson, the creature captured on an anonymous video, or an actor performing like a Yeti, these don't appear to be legendary beasts, but rather man-made creations. And now we've unmasked their secrets, so we don't fall prey to the next Bigfoot hoax. While videotaped and filmed hoaxes supposedly showing Bigfoot or Yeti-type creatures are on the rise, similar hoaxes involving alleged sea serpents and other legendary beasts have also been perpetrated. Great Britain, 1980. Many viewers were stunned to see this incredible footage appear on their television sets. A news-like documentary had people afraid to leave their homes because of an actual dinosaur discovered in the middle of London. Respected BBC reporter Nicholas Woolley had taken his camera crew in search of a brilliant former Nazi scientist suspected of conducting extraordinary DNA experiments, similar to what Hollywood would later show in Jurassic Park. It was an April Fool's hoax. And while it didn't fool everyone, it did gain notoriety for reporter Woolley.
These pictures, taken in very difficult conditions at 200 yards distance, disclose a reality more terrifying than anything our wildest suspicions had suggested. Not just the recombination of genes to make new species, but the recreation of species that died out millions of years ago. Showing considerable courage, our cameraman, Nigel Curtin, decided to go a little closer.
I need it. Just
At this point, Curtin retreated.
Okay. I'm going to try and still. I just think I'm there. Right. I'm in. Got it. I've got it. I'm there. I've got it.
It was an April Fool's hoax. And while it didn't fool everyone, it did gain notoriety for reporter Woolley.
The whole idea was that we were going to play this straight. It wasn't a very big dinosaur because it only had one man inside it. If you shoot low, if you shoot at the end of the lens, and you don't take too long about it, you can make it fairly convincing. The BBC telephone lines were actually jammed. Some people rang up and said, "It's outrageous." I believed it. I was quite frightened.
There's a long tradition of hoaxing in Great Britain, especially involving alleged sea serpents. That tradition probably began with this 1936 newsreel, supposedly showing Scotland's most famous resident, the Loch Ness Monster. In its time, this black and white image moving swiftly across the loch was controversial, though there were more Nessie believers than naysayers. The footage was shot by a startup newsreel company hoping to create a monthly series for use in movie theaters. They needed publicity and might have been inspired by the public reaction to this incredible picture, shot 2 years earlier in 1934. Attributed to a respected surgeon, it was considered proof for 60 years that a monster inhabited the murky waters of Loch Ness. But in 1994, that photo was ultimately revealed as a hoax in a stunning deathbed confession by one of those responsible. June 9th, 1977. These photographs of the great sea serpent made headlines shortly after they were taken by a self-described shaman and showman, Doc Shields. Up until now, they have been considered perhaps the best photographic evidence of a living dinosaur.
I went to Loch Ness because I intended to invoke the Loch Ness Monster, that I could have done a double exposure or put a little drawing or a painting behind it. You see, I wouldn't dream of faking anything like that. That is not in my nature.
Despite Shields' adamant claims of authenticity, top photographic experts find the pictures too good to be true. We went to one of New York City's top imaging facilities, the Color Wheel Incorporated, to speak to the project manager of photo retouching, Russell Angrosani. Angrosani now uses state-of-the-art computers for digital retouching, but he's also an expert in the older conventional method of using chemicals. bleach, dye, and brushes, and he believes this is the method Shields used in 1977 to render the amazing Nessie seen here.
In my opinion, these are photographic hoaxes. This animal is supposed to be upwards and over 30 tons, and yet it doesn't even make a ripple in the water.
I don't lie, I never did in my life, and my photographs are authentic.
Angrosani also found telltale signs of sloppy retouching, where the water background can be detected showing through the painted creature.
One of the signs of this photo being a hoax is you can see the areas of water from the original shot that come in and out of the neck and head.
If any scientist gave his opinion that the reflection and the neck of the monster was painted, well, he'd be a liar.
Angrosani went on to point out other areas where chemicals might have been used to retouch the photos, and then demonstrated what could be done with today's sophisticated computers. He turned a cloudy day sunny. He added ripples and a shadow, and then he gave Nessie a family.
Is there a possibility that they were not authentic? Yes, of course. That possibility always exists.
But photographic evidence supporting the existence of a dinosaur-like creature living in Loch Ness does exist. Dr. Robert Ryan's renowned MIT physicist and owner of patents on the most sophisticated sonar devices saw it with his own eyes and with his submersible camera in 1972. He was stunned by what he observed.
I saw the back of an animal. It was like the back of an elephant, and it was at least 25 feet.
These underwater photos, including the now famous image of an entire Nessie and the close-up of the flipper, are the result of Ryan's diligent research. They were made with the aid of a strobe light, causing the light spots you see here.
I knew that there was something in Loch Ness.
But even this scientific evidence has come into question. Dr. Ryan's has been accused by doubters of using photo-enhancing equipment to make his pictures more real and believable. While Ryan's agrees that his photos have sometimes been enhanced, he says that it was done for clarity, not as a hoax. Amazingly, there is some evidence that sea serpents may inhabit other bodies of water, even in North America. Take a look at this photo shot at Lake Champlain in 1977. The creature, now known as Champ, remains elusive. The photo has been declared genuine by some experts, and to date, no scientist has discredited it. But what you are now seeing could be the most provocative videotape ever shot of a similar creature. Shot in California, the large, scaly, snake-like animal was captured by two amateur photographers, one on shore and the other in a boat, both using high-8 cameras. Clearly, it is either proof of a Nessie-type creature in American waters or a clever hoax. Normally, you would have to decide for yourself. But this time, we have the answer. It's our hoax, designed to show you how easy it is to create your own sea serpent video, simply with the help of some intrepid divers, a plastic creature, and a miniature submarine.
Creating the Loch Ness Monster here today, doing what we did was pretty simple. We started with a wood skeleton, lay canvas or another type of cloth over it, paint it, your standard dive weights here. Attached to the nose is a cable. We've got an underwater scooter that'll propel us under the water. We were navigating using a handheld compass, just going straight out, doing the movements, doing a circular motion and coming straight on back in, doing the same movements. This was an easy hoax to pull off, and it should tell everyone at home, buyer beware.
For over 20 years, these stunning films of metallic flying saucers appearing to navigate over the Swiss countryside have been seen as proof positive by people all over the world that we are being visited by extraterrestrials. The clear daylight footage was shot by farmer Edward Billy Meier. Meier has personally captured more flying saucers on film than anyone on Earth. But are they real spaceships or the most amazing UFO hoaxes ever created? Switzerland, March 18, 1975. Meier manages to film a ship circling a tree in front of a neighboring farmhouse. Watch closely as the UFO's backdraft appears to bend and shake the tree as the ship almost touches it. June 12th, 1975. Incredibly, Meier films another flying saucer hovering above a roadway, as cars can be seen passing beneath it. Look as the UFO seems to change position instantly. A similar feat is documented in this sequence, which is perhaps one of Meier's most spectacular UFO sightings caught on film. The metallic ship appears to bob up and down, hovering by a hill, before vanishing miraculously. Then, as if by magic, it reappears. This affords Meier the unique opportunity to zoom in and reveal detail rarely seen in any UFO film or video. When the saucer moves higher in the sky, Meier manages to follow it with his camera. He even positions himself right underneath it for these stunning close-up views as the mysterious craft flies away. March 28th, 1976. For the first time ever, Meier now captures 3 flying saucers in formation over the Swiss countryside. The ships appear to hover in a perfect V-shaped alignment, seemingly posing for Meier's camera. Then, in an instant, 2 ships are gone, leaving just a single craft shining brightly in the sunlight. While Meier's visually compelling UFO films have made believers of many, skeptics have always considered them very suspicious. But now, newly discovered evidence reveals how Meier appears to have carried out the longest-running UFO hoax on record.
We know and can prove that he makes UFO models. He admits that. Having been to his property, you can see that he grows small trees. And lo and behold, when you look at his films, you see the same tree, in fact, in several of his films taken at different locations. That's impossible.
Investigative journalist Kall has made several clandestine trips to Meier's Swiss farm to uncover his secret methods.
Meier uses small trees and models in a technique known as forced or false perspective, where you put the model in the tree very close to the camera. You have the house or the mountain in the background, and what you have basically is an optical illusion that to the trained eye isn't convincing.
Top Hollywood cinematographer Dean Cundey agrees.
If you watch the motion of the UFO, it is a pendulum kind of motion. Now, it's not a free-hanging pendulum. It's possibly a stiffer wire than maybe just monofilament. If you use a small model and suspend it a lot closer to the camera than you think, maybe 8 or 10 feet away, it allows you to create the illusion that the miniature is, in fact, a lot further away than it is.
Cundey sees even more elaborate rigging of a model behind this purported flying saucer caught on film.
Now, in this particular clip, it suddenly makes an appearance down here just above the horizon. Then it begins to move up, which would indicate that it's suspended on some kind of a clothesline rig or some kind of a device that relies on pulling on a rope or a line to get it to travel. And it appears to sort of hover up kind of nice and slowly, a little intermittently. What's interesting, though, is if you run it even backwards faster, you notice that it has sort of an oscillation, almost as if somebody's pulling on a rope.
Allegations that Meier uses clever trick photography to hoax his UFO footage have been made for years. And now, in this rare interview, Meier challenges his detractors to meet with him face to face.
Most people who attacked me never came and met me in person, never talked to me. They just either invented their photographic tests or reworked the tests of other people who had attacked me before. But they never bothered to investigate my case in person.
However, a person who knows Meier better than anyone else, his own ex-wife, Poppy Meier, also accuses him of being a blatant hoaxer. She points to his most recent UFO film as perhaps his most outrageous fake ever.
The truth is, my ex-husband is lying regarding the UFO affair. When I saw the UFO pictures that looked like a wedding cake, I asked myself, where did I see these lines before? This underpart. I realized it was a lid from a trash can. I compared the lid with the spaceship and identified these lines as being exactly what is on the lid.
Poppy Meier reveals that her ex-husband's skillful use of models and household implements is not only manipulative, but downright dangerous. She warns that he is using his faked UFO images to finance and promote a cult. Thousands of followers worldwide have flocked to Meier because they believe his message. Namely, that the end of the world is coming and that his films prove he is the one chosen by aliens to help mankind survive. Meier's critics say he has his cult completely under his control.
Billy Meier is like a god to them.
This is a man who claims to be the Messiah. This is a man who tells you how to live your life, how many children you should have.
While there's no hard evidence, Meier's debunkers believe his cult could even turn apocalyptic like Heaven's Gate. If so, his clever film hoaxes, which have attracted so many true believers, are not innocent deceptions, but a potentially destructive form of mass manipulation.
The fires were discovered in 2 Swiss villages. In the village of Chiri, police found a burnt-out farmhouse. Inside lay the bodies of 23 people. The police say one man had a bullet wound to his head. The others were found in an underground chapel. They were hidden behind wooden paneling. Several had cords tied around their necks. They were found with their hands clasped together as if in prayer.
In Switzerland, we've already seen a couple of examples of what can happen inside a cult that is tied up with the UFO subject. The Solar Temple, for example, their members killed themselves and were also murdered. And it is a fact that some of the members that are now dead in the Solar Temple were in and out of the Meier cult. And I am predicting that if something isn't done, Billy Meier's may be the very next cult within a few years that may end up like the Solar Temple.
Respected pathologists and top special effects experts were initially baffled by this realistic dissection of an alleged extraterrestrial. Viewers in dozens of countries have seen these shocking images of a 17-minute autopsy itself, as well as approximately 2 minutes of what was purportedly the wreckage from the alien spacecraft, which many claim crashed in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. But the darkly lit footage you are seeing here has never been shown on national television. Although the alien autopsies film's promoters in England claimed it showed doctors at the Roswell crash scene examining the alien prior to the full autopsy. Its poor quality made it difficult to broadcast until now. And in it lies the key to what can now be conclusively said is a hoax of monumental proportions. In this exclusive enhancement produced by the same technology that NASA uses to sharpen images from space, telltale signs of the hoax have been revealed. Look here. The supposed doctors' faces can now clearly be seen. Who are they? After an exhaustive investigation, one has been positively identified. He's no doctor. He's never been to Roswell. And he wasn't filmed in 1947, but videotaped in 1994.
It's very clear. It's amazing what NASA technologies can do. I mean, I'm just absolutely astounded. I mean, I've been revealed, you know. What can I say? It's there, you can see for yourselves. I have been revealed.
Elliot Willis is a former technician at a British production company called AK Music. He says in this world-exclusive interview that Ray Santilli, the Englishman who promoted all the footage, hired the AK group to hoax the crash scene examination footage months before he released the full alien autopsy video in 1995. Santilli's instructions? Shoot what he could claim was an alien autopsy performed in a makeshift tent right after the UFO crash in 1947.
We were contracted by Ray Santilli to create the so-called tent footage, which comprised of creating the actual alien head, which I did myself in a day. I purchased a polystyrene wig head. I then thinned down the face with a file and the nose to make it more gaunt looking, and applied a thin layer of latex to simulate skin texture.
Willis says that while he was initially stumped as to how to fabricate the eyes for the creature being autopsied in the tent footage, his mother came up with a simple yet effective solution.
My mum stepped in and said, "Hey, why don't you get an orange segment?" I said, "That's like an orange segment? What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, just listen to me. If you cut it into 4 and then you bend it, you then get that ellipse shape." So I did that, cut it to size, then tacked it in with small dressmaking pins, then covered it in black gloss paint.
After Willis had constructed the alien head, he says Santilli pushed the production company to shoot the hoax autopsy as soon as possible.
I believe Ray Santilli required the footage from us so urgently because he had prior promised people in the media and he had to provide it.
Santilli had spread the word that he'd obtained a top-secret military film showing a dead alien being autopsied at Roswell. Willis says that since it didn't exist, Santilli had to create it.
One of the directors, Andy, knew someone who had a farm, who had a really dark, kind of dingy kind of back room that we could use.
We asked Willis to explain how the footage was hoaxed.
Here you got a strange lump. That's actually Andy. That's the son of one of the bosses for AK Music. He's got his head like that, so we could place the actual polystyrene head, because it was not a mask. It was placed where his head should have been, and then the sheets were brought up to cover it.
Willis identified the actor on the left side of the screen as a local butcher named Ian.
There's a white sheet over the body, and they're tearing it with a plastic bag. We're putting out sheep intestines and guts and bits, stuff like that. We're cutting out with scalpels and stuff.
According to Willis, the figure moving in the front left corner of the frame is supposed to be a nervous American president who flew to the scene. In reality, the actor is the man who owned the barn where the footage was staged. To help make it look authentic, Willis was put in charge of aging the footage, and then he added one final touch: film scratches.
I've got the animation department to create me a loop of scratches. You can see those coming in. You see those? So we ran it over the top.
Yet despite all of Willis's efforts to create a believable alien autopsy tent scene, Santilli was apparently unsatisfied.
In 1994, we actually finished the tent footage, and it was ready and delivered to Ray Santilli. And then he actually phoned in and said, you know, this is wrong, that's wrong, we need to change this, we need to make it darker, we need to make it lighter.
By the summer of 1995, the press began reporting that Santilli had allegedly uncovered both the alien autopsy tent footage and possibly a more elaborate video showing a full alien dissection in a brightly lit medical facility. Right away, Willis pieced together the obvious connections.
When I actually heard the news reports, I mean, the press went mad. They were reporting alien autopsy footage found, and when Ray Santilli's name was connected to it, I realised that this was part of a big package, that he had used our tent footage originally to get the story going, and he promoted the alien autopsy footage after that once he had got everyone's interest.
But Willis reveals that the more elaborate and ultimately more widely publicized autopsy of an alien was also a hoax, and that Santilli originally wanted AK Music to produce that as well.
After we made the tent footage for Ray Santilli, he said he wanted to do it again in a white room, and he wanted to make it more elaborate. He wanted you to be able to see the bodies shot from down, you know, looking down on the bodies as they're cut open. We made inquiries about having the actual bodies made, but we just could not provide what he wanted in the time span. And so he went elsewhere.
So where did Santilli go to have the considerably more graphic alien autopsy footage created? Bruce Barlow, a business associate of AK, who learned of AK's involvement in Santilli's hoax directly from one of its owners, thinks he has the answer.
The rumour is that the more elaborate footage came from Germany. That is what's generally believed now.
These rumors of a German connection may stem from the fact that Santilli has stated publicly that a German investor funded the purchase of all of his alien autopsy material. And Willis has even seen the name of this investor on the credits for some of Santilli's products made at AK Music.
It wouldn't surprise me if the German investor was Volker Spielberg, because I have worked on other projects for Ray Santilli, and in the credits I've been asked to put Volker Spielberg's name. So, you know, German investor speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Regardless of where the full alien autopsy footage was made, it is now clear to many medical experts who have studied these graphic scenes for close to 3 years that the individuals seemingly wearing contamination-proof suits are not surgeons or doctors at all.
As I observe these people, they're clearly not medically trained people. They're certainly not surgeons. They're probably not pathologists. I believe they're actors. And in fact, they are not even well-trained or coached actors.
But how hard could it be to create a dummy who bleeds so convincingly? No one is better at tricking the public than Stan Winston, whose company has created some of the most lifelike creatures to come out of Hollywood. He built the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and, appropriately enough, the extraterrestrial predators of Aliens. For Winston, creating a simple humanoid like this should be a piece of cake.
My initial reaction when I first saw the piece was that it was not real, that it was a body that someone had created as a prop. And we started the autopsy and actually cutting this body open, and knowing how difficult it is for us in the live effects world to actually simulate cutting skin, I started looking at it and saying to myself, if in fact this isn't real, I would be real proud of creating an image like that myself today. In fact, I want to talk it over with some guys here in the studio as to how we would do that.
When was this supposed to be done?
1947. The question is whether or not we could do this if it weren't real. And let's take it back to just before the cut.
The organic quality of the legs and the feet and all that looks very good.
You see how uniform the blood is on the inside surface of the skin and the amount of drippage down the side where it's uniformly wet on the inside? But, I mean, we never are able to do that. All right, let's fast forward to the skull. Yeah, this is pretty incredible if it's a built prop. Point is if we did this, I'd be pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
This is what I find most interesting.
Yeah, it's very real.
Is the peeling of this skin and how to create this.
Uneven
exactly, and how to create that on a skull.
Continued investigations into who could have directed these actors led to a little-known filmmaker named Nacho Cerda. His short, gory Spanish film called Aftermath, which realistically depicts human autopsies, has chilling similarities to Alien Autopsy in both style and feel, and also predates it by more than a year.
Have nothing to do with this. And of course, again, if I was to do something with this, I would immediately reveal it, you know, because if I'm trying to get noticed by my skills, I would, you know, tell publicly that I was the guy behind this.
Eventually, the true filmmaker of the more elaborate alien autopsy footage will be exposed, and it may turn out, like Elliot Willis, that he or she is also the victim of the man responsible for this entire grandiose hoax.
When I realised that the footage we were making for Ray Santilli was going to be used as a real alien autopsy, I had a mixture of feelings. There are people who believe and there are people who want to believe in this world, and they're the people I feel for because they search for evidence and they look high and low for it. And for someone to come and dangle this in front of them, look what I've got, real footage, aliens, autopsy, the lot, you know, when actually it was a hoax. It wasn't a very nice thing to do, was it really?
Tonight, we've revealed the secrets behind some of the world's greatest hoaxes on film and videotape that seem too good to be true. The legendary and elusive Bigfoot may still be strolling through the world's forests and snow-capped mountains. But as seen here tonight, we believe each of these so-called documented sightings was not a controversial beast caught on tape, but nothing more than someone dressed in an elaborate man-made suit. Before this evening, many believed that this mythic creature inhabited the waters of Loch Ness, Scotland, and it very well may. But we now know that these photos, long cited as evidence, were probably created by an artist's rush. And this footage that inspired so many to view our place in the universe in a different light represents nothing more than a Swiss farmer's manipulative ability with artful models, fabricated scenery, and camera tricks. And finally, the incredible Alien Autopsy production, a collection of 3 extraordinary events allegedly caught on film and presented to the world as proof that aliens exist. First, the tent footage, created to capture the interest of the world press, and the debris footage from the site where the UFO was said to have crashed in Roswell, New Mexico, in 1947. Then the actual alien autopsy of a purported alien being elaborately produced in an attempt to turn the skeptical public into true believers. This famous case will now be remembered not as a historic documenting of alien visitation, but as with all these frauds, a cunning hoax perpetrated upon the world.
You have to be aware that things can be faked, people can construct models, people can engage in optical illusions, people can engage in all sorts of fakery with films. Seeing isn't always believing.
So, what does this tell us about our gullibility? You've seen how some of these hoaxes have been created using simple techniques, but in today's sophisticated era of computer design imagery, hoaxing has become even easier. Look at this startling footage of a UFO seemingly captured on tape in Europe. It appears to fly unnoticed through a busy town in the middle of the day. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, it disappears in the distance. Could this UFO be real? What about this footage of 2 speeding UFOs being chased by a pair of military jets? Watch again as the fleeing UFOs outmaneuver their pursuers. Could they be authentic? Or how about this video of 3 UFOs flying extremely close to an apartment window of a city high-rise? Real or hoaxed? All of these so-called UFOs were hoaxed. This footage was actually created by DPI, a computer graphics company in Holland, to show you how easy it is to use state-of-the-art computer animation to fake a video of a UFO. In today's computer age, you must keep a skeptical eye open and not believe everything you see, especially if its origins are unknown.
Whenever you have anonymous footage, you have to be suspicious. It usually indicates it is a hoax.
And for people who want to believe, hoaxes can present a real risk.
The danger is when somebody presents this as the truth and expects people to change their lives, to buy into a belief system, to buy into something that is not just for the fun of it, but in fact can be detrimental to them, either psychologically, physically, or in some way that takes the control out of their lives and puts it into the hands of someone else.
In the spring of 1997, a UFO cult called Heaven's Gate committed mass suicide in a bizarre attempt to unite with a spaceship they believe was trailing the Hale-Bopp comet. Some say they were inspired by a fabricated photo showing that UFO. Not all hoaxes have such devastating results. Some can be done just for fun. But all hoaxes teach us a lesson. Don't necessarily believe your eyes. As we've shown tonight, advances in technology have enabled the talented hoaxer to create amazing illusions. So remember, what you see isn't always what it appears to be. As fascination with mysterious phenomena and potential alien contact continues to grow, the need for vigilance against video and film hoaxers becomes increasingly important. These skilled individuals often produce photographic fabrications so convincing that they can easily be mistaken for genuine evidence, misleading even the most discerning observers. It is critical to remember that the burden of proof rests with those making extraordinary claims. A healthy dose of skepticism and careful analysis are essential to distinguish reality from deception. And always keep in mind, if the footage looks too perfect or extraordinary, it is most likely a hoax.